Today we delve into the Bible to learn about the tragic story of Tamar, the daughter of King David. Tamar was not just any princess. She was kind, smart, and very beautiful. Living in the palace, she had everything she could wish for, but that didn't mean she was safe from harm. Though she had many brothers and sisters, it was her half-brother Amnon who would change her life in a way no one could have imagined. Amnon, overwhelmed by a forbidden passion for Tamar, found himself ensnared by his desires. His obsession with her sparked a deceitful scheme both ingenious and dreadful. Pretending to be ill, he manipulated their father David into sending Tamar to take care of him. Tamar arrived wearing a special robe that signified her virginity and royal status, which was customary for virgin daughters of the king. She believed her brother to be genuinely ill and in need of care, unaware that she was walking into a trap. At Amnon's quarters, Tamar prepared a meal for him with her own hands, intending to nurse him back to health. Her innocence and good intentions shone brightly, unaware of the deceit and darkness that awaited her. Amnon asked Tamar to bring the meal to his bedroom, insisting on being fed directly from her hand. When Tamar innocently complied, her deceitful brother revealed the darkness of his intentions. He grabbed her against her will and ignored her desperate pleas for him to stop. He committed an unforgivable act against Tamar, a violation of trust and familial bonds that should never befall anyone. After Amnon's heinous act, his lust quickly turned into disgust. With a cold heart, he ordered Tamar to leave, seeking to erase the evidence of his crime. The princess, in her shock and despair, could not bring herself to move. In his cruelty, Amnon commanded his servant to forcibly remove her from his presence. Cast out and alone, Tamar broke down in a display of her anguish. She tore her robe and scattered ashes upon her head, a traditional sign of mourning and disgrace. Stripped of her dignity and betrayed by her own kin, Tamar faced a future overshadowed by this act of violence. In her moment of utter devastation, there was only one person she felt she could turn to: her full brother Absalom. Upon hearing of the atrocious act committed by Amnon, Absalom's fury knew no bounds. Yet his rage did not erupt into public outrage. Instead, he chose a path of quiet resolve, urging Tamar to keep the incident a secret. He made her a promise to take care of everything. Despite feeling as though her dignity had been stolen from her, Tamar placed her shattered trust into Absalom's hands, hoping for justice or at least some form of reparation for the irreparable harm she had endured. After Tamar's terrible ordeal, the palace was filled with a heavy silence. King David, Tamar's father, found out what Amnon had done to her and was very angry. Torn between his love for his children and the demands of justice, David remained paralyzed, a decision that would sow seeds of division within his own family. David's inaction made Absalom feel like his sister hadn't been given the justice she deserved, so Absalom decided that if his father wouldn't do anything, he would have to make things right himself. Though David's inaction was born out of a conflicted heart, to Absalom it was a glaring betrayal, a failure to protect and to serve justice for his sister. Resolved to avenge, all Absalom had to do was wait for the right moment. 2 years passed since the sinister incident, and everyone moved on, including King David and Amnon. But Absalom wasn't going to let this go. He pretended everything was fine, waiting for the right moment. He was planning, thinking, and waiting for his chance to make Amnon pay for what he did. The moment arrived during the sheep shearing season, a time traditionally associated with rejoicing, gathering, and festivity. Absalom sent warm invitations to his brothers, including Amnon, promising a day of lavish feasting, entertainment, and merriment. It was a perfect backdrop for Absalom's dark intentions, using the guise of celebration to bring together the key target of his revenge plot. To everyone else, it seemed like a gesture of reconciliation, a sign that past grievances were buried. But Absalom's plan was far from forgiveness. He had given strict instructions to his servants, waiting for the moment when Amnon would be off guard, enjoying the feast. Absalom's command was clear. When Amnon is in high spirits from the wine and I say to you, strike Amnon, then kill him. Don't be afraid. Haven't I given you this order? Be strong and brave. As the feast continued, Absalom watched his multiple brothers enjoying the celebrations, immersed in the joy and camaraderie of the occasion. However, Their laughter and merriment were abruptly shattered at Absalom's signal. His servants sprang into action, targeting Amnon with a deadly resolve that left no room for intervention. The scene quickly descended into chaos, with Amnon's brothers witnessing the unthinkable, their sibling, the king's son, being struck down before their very eyes. The shock and horror of the moment were palpable. The brothers found themselves frozen, caught between disbelief and the instinct to flee. The realization that they were in the presence of a premeditated act of violence, executed at a family gathering no less, spurred them into action. Fearing for their own lives and uncertain of Absalom's intentions towards them, they made the desperate decision to flee the scene. Panic set in as they hurried to escape, their minds clouded with a mixture of grief, fear, and confusion. They navigated the rough terrain back to Jerusalem to their father, King David, bearing the tragic news. Meanwhile, Absalom, having set the wheels of his vengeance in motion, understood all too well the magnitude of his actions. The immediate aftermath of Amnon's death saw the feast turn into a scene of despair and hurried departure, with guests and family members alike grappling with the gravity of the situation. Absalom knew his actions had irrevocably changed his relationship with his father and placed him in imminent danger. With a heavy heart, he chose exile over confrontation, leaving behind the life he knew in Jerusalem. His destination was Geshur, the kingdom of his maternal grandfather, Talmai. As we will see in future videos, this choice was not made arbitrarily. Absalom had a plan in mind. As for the poor Tamar, no one really knows what happened to her after these tragic events unfolded. It is assumed that she continued to live under Absalom's protection until her death. Terrified by the trauma of her past, she remained a figure shrouded in sorrow, with no signs that she ever married or had children.